The lattice was already humming when I sealed the chamber, 14 prior integrations stacked neat behind me like a row of solved equations, and I did not expect the 15th to be any different. Her name was Elena Castor. 41 years old, dampener-free by my own order, strapped into the integration chair with the calm of someone waiting for a bus. The choir hall lit around her in its usual soft gold, 600,000 voices folded into one chord, and somewhere in that chord were 13 of her own species, each one synchronized smoothly the moment we'd flattened their descent with standard pre-integration sedation. The 14th had taken longer, but she'd gone and eventually too, once we doubled the dose. This time I'd ordered no dampeners at all. A clean baseline read. I wanted the raw signal before we folded it down. You'll feel a pressure behind the eyes, I told her, through the translator collar. It passes. It usually does, she said, and closed her eyes like she was bored of the conversation already. I keyed the integration field live. The first half-second went exactly as the model predicted. Her neural rhythm found the choir's carrier wave, locked, began the cascade that turns one mind into 600,001. I watched the resonance graph climb the way it always climbs, clean, fast, a voice finding its register. Then it split. Not failed. Split. The graph forked into two distinct, equally strong signals, each one carrying her full neural signature, each one insisting it was the true reading. One line said I am afraid, the other, in the same half-second, on the same channel, said I am not afraid, and being afraid is not the same as being wrong to come here, both registered as primary. Both registered as true. I had run this board for 31 years. I had synchronized refugees mid-seizure, the terminally sedated infants. I had never once seen the choir's listening array report two simultaneous, contradictory truths from a single mind and fail to collapse them into consensus within the first second. The array doesn't have a category for both, it waits for the resolution. It is built to wait. It waited 4 seconds. Then it logged an anomaly flag, the first one I'd seen in 6 years. "Ma'am," said my second, Jorandel, from the side console, "her signal's not converging." "I see it." I didn't, not yet, not really. I adjusted gain, widened the listening band, gave her more room to settle. The graph didn't settle. It produced a third line. Then a fourth, branching off the first two like a tree finding new directions to grow, each fork carrying full conviction, none of them yielding to the others, none of them dissolving the way every other species' doubt dissolves once the choir starts singing it, the comfort of agreement. "She's arguing with herself," Joran said, and there was something close to a laugh in it, the kind you make when you don't understand what you're looking at yet. I didn't laugh, because I had seen this shape once before, in miniature, in the third of the 14 prior integrations, a flicker of the same fork, gone in under a second once the sedative reasserted itself. I had logged it as noise. I pulled that old record up now, mid-session, and watched the flicker sit there on the archived graph, small and dismissible and, I understood with a kind of cold embarrassment, not noise at all. It had been the same signal. We had simply drugged it quiet before it could finish saying what it was. I had read the file on her. Crisis negotiator, 11 years, the kind of work where you hold a hostage-taker's logic and the hostage's terror and your own exhaustion in your hands at the same time, and you do not let any one of them win outright, because the moment you do, someone dies. I had assumed that was a skill. I had not understood it was closer to an organ. "Pull the gain back," I said. "Let it run clean." It ran clean. That was the problem. By the 90-second mark, the choir itself had begun to register her. Not as a failed integration, failed integrations simply go quiet, drop out of the field, leave no trace beyond a red mark in the log. Hers did not drop out. Her four-way fork had found purchase in the choir's own listening structure, and the choir, being built to absorb and harmonize whatever voice enters it, had started trying to harmonize a voice that would not resolve into one note. I felt it through my own link, a faint stutter, a half-beat of the 600,000 catching on something it could not finish singing. "Warden." Joran's voice had lost the laugh. The hall's shared field is reading dissonance. Source tag to the integration chair. I looked at Elena Castor. Her eyes were still closed. Her breathing hadn't changed. On the graph in front of me, her mind kept producing contradiction after contradiction, fully formed, fully convinced, refusing every offer the choir made to dissolve one truth into the other, and the choir, which had never in its existence met a voice it could not eventually fold flat, kept offering anyway, again and again, each offer a small drain on 600,000 minds trying to make room for a shape that did not want to become one shape. I have stood in proving theaters my whole career. I know the particular silence that falls when a room understands, all at once, that the model in front of it is wrong. This was that silence, except it ran through 600,000 throats at once, a half-second hush in the choir's own hum that every warden on the lattice felt in their spine before anyone said a word. Sever it, I said. Warden, the backflow's already. Sever it now. Joran cut the field. The integration chair powered down with a sound like a held breath finally let go, and the choir's hum steadied within 3 seconds, the way a held note steadies once the wrong instrument stops playing. The damage, when we ran the audit, was small. A flicker in 20,000 peripheral minds, nothing structural, nothing that wouldn't smooth itself out by morning. It could have been worse. If I'd let the session run another 60 seconds at full gain, our own modeling said the dissonance would have reached self-sustaining scale inside the shared field, and there is no procedure on this lattice for what happens after that, because no one has ever needed one. By the time the hall's hum had fully steadied, 4 other wardens had already pulled the session log from the shared archive without waiting for my report. The dissonance had registered far enough into the choir's structure that every active warden on the lattice felt the half-second stutter as their own, and every one of them wanted to know, immediately, what kind of voice could reach that far without ever raising itself. Elena Castor opened her eyes when the restraints released. She did not look frightened. She did not look proud either, the way I half expected, the way I have seen other species look when they sense they've won something. She looked, if anything, mildly inconvenienced, the way you look when a meeting runs long. That's it, she asked. That's enough, I said. I filed the reclassification myself that night, before the formal review, because I already knew what the review would conclude and saw no reason to make her wait in a cell for the Concord to catch up to what the graph had already told us. Human minds, unsynchronizable by direct integration. Not resistant, the array had a category for resistant, for the ones who fight and lose slowly. This was something else. A mind built to hold two true, opposing things at once and call neither of them a failure. Every other species we had ever folded into the choir eventually quieted its disagreement because disagreement, left alone long enough, looks for resolution. Hers didn't look for resolution. Hers was built to live inside the argument indefinitely, and a chorus has no note for a voice that refuses to stop being two voices. The Concord suspended the integration program for her species permanently within the week. No ceremony. Just a line added to the Proving Theater's standing orders, the kind of line that outlives the warden who wrote it. Before they took her back to holding, I asked her the only question I had left, because 31 years on this board had earned me at least one honest answer. Did you know? Before we started. That you'd hold. She thought about it the way she'd thought about everything, unhurried, both halves of whatever she was thinking given equal room. No, she said. I knew I wouldn't pretend to agree with something just because agreeing was easier. I didn't know that was the same thing to you as winning. I logged that line word for word. It is the last entry in her file, and the first line in the new standing order, and some nights, when the choir's hum runs through me clean and singular and certain, I think about how strange it is that the thing which finally cracked a 600,000 voice consensus was not a weapon, not a virus, not a war. It was a woman who simply would not stop being of two minds.